All right, every week I get messages from anxious developers worried that AI is going to take their jobs, and from some C-level executives convinced that they can fire their entire dev team and replace them with ChatGPT. Now, both of them are missing what's actually happened when you're trying to build real software with AI alone, what I call confident hallucination disaster. I recently reviewed a startup codebase that was built almost entirely with an AI assistance, and what I found was perfectly formatted, security vulnerabilities, beautifully commented, impossible database queries, and elegantly structured dead ends. So after a long time of building software, I can tell you there's a massive gap between generating code snippets and actually solving the complex, messy human problems that software development requires. So let's dive into this topic here today. Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer Thompson. Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as to build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, so the software job market has been tough lately, but not because AI is replacing developers. We're still feeling the aftermath of the 2021-2022 hiring spree, followed with massive layoffs for the next 2 to 3 years after. Now we're also feeling a lot of pinch with a lot of different market uncertainties, right? So companies overstaffed during the pandemic boom and then drastically cut back, and this created a market flooded with talented developers looking for work. So this timing conveniently aligned with the rise of coding AI tools, leading some executive to be misguided with the misguided conclusion that AI could replace their expensive development teams. Now, what these executives don't understand is that writing code has always been just a fraction of what software development actually involves. I regularly tell my developers that the best code they can write is no code at all. Solving problems without adding complexity is the true art. My favorite commits aren't the ones adding thousands of lines of code. They're the ones that delete large sections of complex code and replace them with simpler, proven solutions. Now, there's this whole trend called vibe coding, right? And a new trend that I've seen lately with this vibe coding, it's where you use AI to generate your entire application without really understanding what's under the hood. Now, these projects typically work great in demos, but collapse spectacularly when they hit production or need to be maintained. I recently consulted for a startup that built their MVP entirely with AI assistance, and they couldn't debug critical issues because nobody on the team understood the code base they'd created. When AI generates code, it creates what looks reasonable based on pattern matching, not actually understanding of the unique requirements and constraints of your business. The code often contains subtle logical errors that aren't obvious until they cause real problems for real users with real data. Now, the irony is that fixing AI generated code often takes more developer time than writing it properly from scratch would have taken. Now, if your company has tried the AI only approach, or you have other problems with your systems being connected and you have a code base that nobody can maintain, let us help you out, because here at Startup Hack, our specialty is rescuing projects from technical debt and building sustainable systems your team can actually work with. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer, because we'd love to help. Now, one of the big problems with AI tools is when they make a mistake in their coding, and they absolutely do make those mistakes, they make it with complete confidence, which makes the errors harder to spot for inexperienced developers. One of my followers shared a hysterical example where an AI procurement system bought 100 Christmas trees in January because they were really cheap. Technically correct, but completely missing the business context, right? So the AI doesn't know what it doesn't know. It has no concept of uncertainty and will happily generate solutions to impossible problems. So distinguishing between valid code and plausible looking nonsense requires exactly the experience and domain knowledge that a seasoned developer brings to the table. So I've seen AI generate elegant, syntactically perfect code that would completely tank a database performance under real world conditions. So the more specialized or complex your system, the more likely AI is to generate solutions that look reasonable but are fundamentally flawed. Now, I had another commenter who came in, and he recently made an interesting comparison to chess AI, right? Pointing out how first it helped the grandmasters, then consistently beat them, and now they refuse to play against it. Now, this analogy falls apart when you consider fundamental differences. Chess has a fixed set of rules and clearly defined success state, while software development is open-ended, creative problem-solving process. Chess has a limited board with 64 squares and fixed movement rules. Software development has effectively unlimited variables across unlimited hosting platforms, across unlimited languages, across unlimited frameworks, across unlimited databases and business domains. The variation in software development environments, requirements, and constraints is growing faster than AI's ability to keep up. And honestly, the AI is actually exacerbating the problem, right? In chess, AI can see the entire problem space at once. In software development, critical context is often unstated, hidden in business needs, or locked in the heads of various stakeholders, or in other complex integrated systems. Software isn't just about finding optimal solutions or writing some nice fancy algorithms. It's about discovering what actual problem is in the first place. Now, AI excels at generating isolated components but struggles tremendously with system integration, which is where most real-world software challenges actually exist. In my 25 years of experience connecting different systems together, each with their own quirks, limitations, and peculiarities, is the hardest part of software development. AI has no concept of what your legacy systems look like, has no idea what your unique business constraints or the undocumented workarounds that your team has implemented over the years. The variations in hosting platforms, programming languages, storage mechanisms, deployment pipelines create effectively infinite combinations that AI simply cannot account for. So even the best AI coding assistant today has no understanding of your specific infrastructure or organizational requirement. And yet I have yet to see an AI that can effectively navigate the complexity of integrating with a 15-year-old ERP system with custom modifications and poor documentation, something human developers tackle every single day. Now, one of the most valuable skills developers bring to the table is the ability to translate vague, contradictory, or incomplete business requirements into workable technical solutions. AI can't sit in meetings, read the room, and understand what the marketing team is asking for isn't actually what they need to achieve their goals. Great developers ask clarifying questions, bring up new ideas, surface hidden assumptions, and identify potential solutions for stakeholders, something often they haven't even considered yet. Steve Jobs often used to say that he never did a lot of user feedback because he always said he knew better what the users wanted than the users themselves. So I've seen clients buy millions. I've seen clients save millions by having developers who could say, what you're asking for won't solve your actual problem. Here's what will. Now, AI has no ability to push back on bad ideas or suggest fundamentally different approaches based on experience. So the gap between what people say they want and what they actually need is where human developers truly shine. Now, if your company is struggling to translate business needs into technical solutions that actually work, let us help you out. Here at Starter Pack, our specialty is bridging the gap between what stakeholders request and what will actually solve their problems. So check out starterpack.com/Spencer. Now, AI has no understanding of your business history, culture, brand values, or long-term strategy, all critical input to building good software design decisions. Software doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's shaped by regulatory requirements, competitor offerings, user expectations, and market trends that AI can never fully grasp. I've watched AI generate solutions that would be legal disasters in certain industries because there's no real understanding of domain-specific compliance requirements. The most valuable developers don't just understand code, they understand the business context that gives that code purpose and direction. AI can't attend a customer support call, feel the frustration in a user's voice, and develop the empathy that drives truly user-centric design. So after 25 years in building software, I've learned the best technical decision always comes from deep contextual understanding that AI fundamentally will lack. Now, AI might seem great at generating new code, but software development is 80% maintenance and evolution of existing systems. So understanding why certain design decisions were made years ago, often under constraints that no longer exist, requires a depth of system thinking that AI can't replicate. I've watched AI suggest improvements that would have catastrophically broken critical but non-obvious dependencies in a complex system. The longer a system has been running and evolving, the less likely AI is to understand its quirks, workarounds, and historical baggage. So maintenance often involves targeted, minimal changes to reduce risk, precisely the opposite of AI's tendency to generate complete solutions from scratch. Real software development is as much archaeology as it is architecture, requiring developers to understand the why behind existing code that AI simply cannot grasp. So this whole thing about vibe coding is great if you want to stand up a brand new app, but what do you have to do as soon as you need to support that app or actually integrate it into something? AI can only suggest variations of what already exists. It can't make the creative leaps that truly drive innovation. Real innovation comes from connecting disparate ideas across domains in ways that seem obvious in retrospect but weren't predictable in advance. So I've watched developers make breakthrough realizations by connecting concepts from fields as diverse as biology, economics, psychology to solve technical problems. AI has no understanding of first principle thinking, the ability to break down problems to their fundamental truths and rebuild solutions from the ground up. The most valuable innovations often come from challenging core assumptions that AI doesn't even recognize as an assumption. And oftentimes it then makes its own assumptions and makes up things like libraries. After decades in the field, I can tell you that every major advance in software came from human creativity that no pattern matching algorithm could have predicted. So, when systems do fail in production, and they're going to, debugging requires investigative skills and intuition, and often following a code smell or a hunch. Tracking down elusive bugs often involves recognizing subtle patterns across log files, user reports, and system behaviors that AI would miss entirely, that no matter what size of the context window is, you could not possibly put into it. I've watched senior developers solve in minutes debugging challenges that had stumped entire teams for days because they noticed something that just seemed off. Real debugging isn't about fixing the immediate issue. It's about understanding the root cause and preventing similar problems in the future. The debugging process often leads to critical insights about system design that inform future architectural decisions. So after decades debugging complex systems, I can tell you that the Sherlock Holmes aspect of software development, making intuitive leaps based on limited evidence, is something AI will never duplicate. So at its core, software development isn't about just writing code. It's about solving human problems for human users with all their messy, contradictory, and evolving needs. The most sophisticated algorithm in the world can't understand what it feels like to be frustrated by a poorly designed interface or delighted by one that anticipates your need. I've seen technically perfect solutions fail completely because they didn't account for how humans actually worked in the real world. The gap between what users say they want and what they actually solve their problem can only be bridged by human empathy and understanding. Software development is at its best a deeply human, creative endeavor that's as much about psychology as it is about technology. So, after 25 years in the software, I'm more convinced than ever the future isn't AI replacing developers, it's AI empowering developers to focus on uniquely human aspects of creating technology that truly serves their need. And we're starting to see a market shift on this. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I love to have a great discussion. So make sure you leave a comment down below and make sure to like and subscribe. Because here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps. And we love to to build custom software solutions for companies. So reach out because we'd love to help. And you can check out startuphack.com/Spencer, or here's some great information about our coding boot camps.
Want to become a software developer but don't want to spend 4 years in college and rack up massive student loan debts? Think you need technical expertise to get started? Welcome to Startup Hack, a better way to start your software career without student loans and years without income. One-on-one tutoring is included so you never get stuck and have guidance through the whole process. No technical experience is necessary. Learn at your own pace and in your own space. Startup Hack has worked with local state agencies in your area to make it so that qualifying students can get the program costs covered entirely and students can start earning while they learn.
Startup Hack's .NET Coding Bootcamp was a game changer for my career. As someone with no prior programming experience, I was initially intimidated by the idea of learning to code, but the instructors at Startup Hack broke down complex concepts into easy to understand lessons and provided hands-on projects that really cemented my understanding. The curriculum was comprehensive and up to date and got me ready for my first job. What really set Startup Hack apart was the focus on practical, real-world skills. Thanks to Startup Hack, I landed my dream job as a .NET developer within weeks of graduating. I went from knowing nothing about code to building professional-grade web applications in just a few intense months. If you're looking to break into .NET development or level up your coding skills, I cannot recommend Startup Hack enough.
Complete our 3-month coding bootcamp, gain hands-on experience, and land a paid internship. With 2 years of experience, on average, our graduates are making over $80,000 per year. The 3-month program includes technologies from Microsoft, Google, and Facebook. No debt, just a quick path to earning. Check out startuphack.com to code your future.